Yes, everyone, you know what time it is. It's your boys Jack and Dave here, and we're going to be giving our thoughts on what is Spurs' best front three at the moment. Because in recent games, struggling a little bit with some creativity, struggling to really kind of blow teams out or get any sort of convincing kind of 3-0 wins that we've been really looking for this season for some time now. And so I think the question that has been kind of trending around the fan base right now is, what is Spurs' best front three? Can Postecoglou switch to something else? Or what is the best that he can really work with for the rest of this season here? And Dave, I think it's a question that we might actually stir a little bit of a hornet's nest here, I imagine, with our answers for later. But shall we get it going?
Yeah, look, let's get straight into it. These are always controversial topics, but look, we are open for disagreement. So please put in the comment section below. Let us know what you think Tottenham's best front three is. And if you are going to disagree with us, don't just call us delusional and take a cheap shot. Let us know the reasons why you disagree. Let's get into it, Jacko.
And remember to smash that like button for us, please, if you'd like to as well. But we're going to go first with maybe just might as well rattle off mine here. I'm going to say right wing, going to be going with Dejan Kulusevski ahead of all the other options that you may think we have. I think there's a Timo Werner you could throw out there. You have as well, of course, Brennan Johnson. And then striker, probably not a big surprise here. I do my Richie runs on a regular basis, going for Richarlison down the middle and Sonny on the left. Before we get into what I think is the elephant in the room here, Dave, because of a lot of the kind of the trending conversations around Sonny and Richarlison and where they should be playing. Let's start maybe on the right, first there for me. I've gone with Dejan Kulusevski. Is that similar for you, or do you have someone else on the right?
No, look, for me, I think you have to put Kulusevski there. The only other options you've got there is Brennan Johnson and Timo Werner, which I'd argue are very, very similar in terms of the style of play and the way you need to feed them and stuff like that. But Dejan Kulusevski, although he's not in the greatest form, I think he's created the most chances from open play more than any other Premier League player this season. And you even look at the goal on the weekend, out of nothing, he created something absolutely brilliant. And ultimately, that's the Dejan Kulusevski we know, the guy that scored that goal there. And if we can get him back to that, he'll be just fine. Now, obviously, he hasn't hit the heights that he did when he first came in, but at least he can cross a ball. Now, he didn't do it against Brentford an awful lot, but for me, that's just instructions. That's where the manager needs to say to him, Dejan, every time you get the ball, believe in your ability. Use your strength. Go on the outside, come on the inside, mix it up. Once he gets that to his game, he'll be just fine out there. The problem with Brennan Johnson and Werner is they can't cross a ball. You can only play them against teams with low blocks. We've seen, that play high lines where they've got space to run into behind. We've seen when we've played them against low blocks, they've got no answers. And ultimately, when the ball goes out wide, they can barely beat the man on the outside. And when they do, they don't have the crossing ability. So for me, you've got to play Dejan there, even though he's not in the best of form.
For me, I think Kulusevski as well, because most of the time we're going to be coming up against teams that are going to be sitting really deep, low block, pragmatic, conventional kind of, what is it, 3-5-2s, 4-4-2s kind of styles that we've been coming up against. There's not much space to really get in behind, not much space to run in behind when it comes to those back lines that we're coming up against. So it's going to require a bit more invention, more creativity, guys that can work in tighter spaces, work with tighter angles, be able to kind of trick whoever they're coming up against in these one-on-one situations when there's really not much space to work with. And also as well, see passes and see maybe runs and be able to play those passes, be able to complete those runs. And that, are hard to make through these kind of tight, rigid, really organized back lines. But there is a way to do it. You just need to have that bit of creativity, that bit of technique as well, that technical skill to find players and be able to create, spaces when there really is none whatsoever. And for me, Brennan Johnson hasn't really been that player for us this season. I think it's better just when we come up against these type of teams to go with Kulusevski, because these teams I think we're going to come up against more regularly than others. They will try to sit back against us. So Kulusevski, I think, just makes more sense. Hopefully, if these are all ideal, but ideal situation, we go 1 goal, 2 goals up, then you throw in a Brennan Johnson, because the team will have to come out of their shell. They will have to open up a bit more. You throw him into the game, like I said before, then there's more space in behind. Then there's more kind of green grass to work with behind that back line. Brennan Johnson would thrive with that. And he has shown late in games to thrive in that, in whether Spurs are going for a late goal or if they're even, the game's just a bit stretched. teams are tired and there is that
mm,
space to work with. But in the beginning of games, I just don't think it usually suits Brennan Johnson when he's coming up against a team of pretty much everybody and their mother
mm,
behind the ball for me.
mm,
And he just
and
doesn't work that sort of requirement to create, in those type of
mm,
situations as well as Kulusevski does for me. Also,
mm,
lastly, when we're talking about working off of the ball, when
yes.
it's tireless work rate, Kulusevski, for me, much more consistent, better in general when it comes to winning the ball back, pressing, working hard off the ball than
Mm.
that Brendan Johnson is for me too.
I think that's a very important point you made just there, especially when it comes to the right wing with the way we ask Paulo to play. We have to understand that that right winger has to work back. Brennan Johnson has been caught a number of times not doing that, and it's nearly become costly. Werner hasn't been the greatest at working back on the left-hand side either, I'd also argue. So, it's not their best traits. It is Kulusevski's. I'd also argue when a Johnson or a Werner does play, they make our job harder because we can only go in behind. They can't drop short to receive the ball, link up with other players. Kulusevski can. So all around game, Kulusevski's just better and has to play.
And then might as well now address the elephant in the room here, which everybody has gone feels like back to how we started this season, where they want to move Sonny back into the middle. And I can see where it's coming from because of recent Spurs not been as convinced, not as convincing. Midfield's been a bit whack. Kind of, individual errors have been coming out a bit more. The front line's not really ticking or flowing as much as it was in other games. So I could see why people want to think about change, maybe, consider moving people elsewhere. But we've stuck with what has, I think, worked for us in most game situations this season, Dave,
Mm,
which is Sonny on the left, Richarlison down the middle.
mm,
I'm going to go to you first on it because I just feel like we just sort of agree with each other, and I think we're going to cover each other's points to some fashion. So I might be a gentleman here,
mm,
hand you over kind of a because I think they work in tandem. Why we think Richarlison's down the middle, why we think Sonny's down the left.
mm,
I don't think we need to address one at a time. It's kind of they work
mm,
together. I think the arguments.
mm.
Yeah.
No, 100%. Look, I'll kick this off by saying, first of all, this isn't because we favor one or over the other, anything like that. And if people say I have an agenda, my only agenda is to get Tottenham firing goals, and everybody knows that. I've been arguing that since the summer. Look, for me, the reason why I think Son worked earlier on in the season is because teams didn't have any respect for us whatsoever coming out the back end of the season before that. So they played high lines. We could exploit that very regularly, and we did to great effect. But then there did come a period once we gained that bit of respect after the 10-game unbeaten streak. Teams changed the way they approached us. They sat back off us, and when they did, Son wasn't scoring. We didn't have the answers for that. There was a reason why not campaigned, but I put it out there ages ago. I think it was before the Wolves. I can't remember what game it was, but I put it out there arguing to put Son back out to the left and Richarlison down the middle for one reason and one reason only. Son's the best creator we have in terms of out wide across all the wingers. And what good is having Son down the middle if you don't have someone providing them? Now, earlier on in the season, you'd make the argument that Madison Son link up was ice cold. However, teams are blocking up the middle of the pitch now. They're giving us the space out wide. We're just not utilizing it. If we could get Son but the ball a lot quicker and a lot more space, and we've done it in one pass like Højbjerg was when he came off the bench on the weekend, and not have to do it in 5 or 6 passes, you would get Son into the game a hell of a lot more off the left wing. But when Son gets into them deadly positions, he's going to be the one to find that killer instinct more than anybody else. Even if you put Richarlison out there, he'll find that killer instinct, that killer pass more than Richarlison. But also, when it wasn't working out with Sonny and team started sitting low block, we didn't have the option to cross the ball because Son's game isn't about having that presence in the box. So you're automatically you're losing that creativity, but then you're also losing that sort of deadly striker. The
Hmm.
reason why I was saying about putting Richarlison up front in the first place was to have that presence. So when teams sit low block, you're going to have to take a lot of your half chances. You're going to have to put balls in the box and let your striker go and attack that. And I'd argue, since we've done that, Richarlison has done that to great effect. Okay, he hasn't scored in the last 2 games. Let's not forget, Harry Kane went a period without scoring goals, a couple of games without scoring goals at times. And even Son down the middle went a couple of games without scoring goals. But we never threw our toys out the pram like this. And I think a lot of it is because of people have their preconceived opinions of Richarlison. But when you look at the way teams are setting up against us, you have to play Richarlison down the middle. You can't put Son down there because you can't cross the ball. Everyone was
Mm.
blaming the wingers at that time, and I was the only one that said, well, what's the point of them crossing the ball if you don't have anyone that's going to attack it? And that changed. Now, I'm not sitting here saying that, that front three was good enough at the weekend. It was nowhere near it. But it's just simple instructions that can be sorted out that can get that front three purring. I don't think it needs to be drastically changed up like people are saying. At the end of the day, that's our best front three until the transfer window comes around.
I think, if I remember correctly, at one stage, Spurs fans felt that we were struggling against these low block teams because we were missing a penalty presence. It felt like Spurs, if I remember correctly, right? Everybody was saying Spurs are too guilty of trying to create the perfect goal sometimes
Yes.
against these low block teams. And the reason why we sort of had to try to create the perfect goal is because we have Sonny, who I think has the best movement and the best intelligence of
Yeah.
movement of any player in the team, but he's only
Oh,
one man surrounded by four trees of center backs. Like, he's going to
yeah.
struggle to find any space whatsoever, no matter how hard he tries, no matter how much he tries to outwit them. And then the ball that comes in is going to need to be absolutely perfect and on the money for him to be able to get there and so that he can put it away. And so I'd rather, against these low block, defensive minded teams where they're not going to give any space in the middle to any of the strikers that we do try to put in
Mm,
there, whether it's Richarlison, whether it's Dave, or whether it's Sonny, they're not going to give any space to that player in there. They're going to be giving more space to the players out wide, and those players out wide are going to need to create for us. Also, again, think about, kind of during the days when Sonny was playing down the middle, we were saying missing that penalty presence, but also we were missing creativity, it felt like, in the wide areas. Brendan Johnson, we felt like, wasn't performing on the left wing. We felt like, too, that there wasn't enough consistency from the wingers during that period. We moved Sonny out wide. I felt like the creativity has been so much better on the left wing and so much more consistent since Sonny has moved out there. He actually has a good relationship with
mm,
Udogi. They make good runs off of each other. Sonny tries to make dangerous passes to try to break the lines of the defense. He tries to whip in a good cross. He can actually whip in a cross with his left foot that can be on the money and can be whipped in
mm,
with some real pace compared to someone like a Werner. So for me, I think Sonny, who is the best player in this team, who is the best forward player, I'd rather have him be on the ball as often as
mm,
possible. And against these low block teams, which we're coming
mm,
up against more often than not, it's
mm,
going to be then Sonny on the left wing for me, because that means he's on the ball, he's
mm,
creating, he can even try to score for himself. Where if he's coming up
mm.
against three Michael Dawson center backs that are all just going
Yeah.
to be crowding him out, I'd rather Richarlison just do the dirty work and try
Mm,
to find the space and rise up against them to meet that ball when we just are desperate, whipping crosses in
mm.
type of thing. For me, there's never going to be much space in behind for us to work with. When there is space in behind to work with,
We're
definitely throw
open to
Sonny
it.
down the middle.
Yeah.
Definitely throw Sonny down the middle because he's deadly that way. He's absolutely
Mm,
deadly. But most
mm,
games, teams aren't going to do that because they know that that's deadly. Like, they know that that's almost suicide, right, for them. So
mm,
I think Richarlison down the middle is going to be the
mm,
status quo for us for majority of games this season. And
mm,
Sonny is by far our best creator on the left or
mm,
even on the right, probably.
mm. But look, I want to say one thing, and it's probably going to get me berated in the comments, but no one wants to deal with the elephant in the room. Son's game off the left wing has took a massive input, a massive hit since we sold Harry Kane. When Harry Kane got the ball, and it's something I tried to highlight in the summer, Son run because he knew that pass was going to come every single time. We don't have that player that can spray that ball. As soon as they get their ball, the ball, head up, looking for Son in behind. That's not happening. And that's something where I think Postecoglou probably needs to address, whether that is that player in the number 6, rather than have to get it to the number 8 and to the number 10. Sometimes just go directly to Son. You can get
Hmm.
him involved in a lot more space that way. The centre
Hmm.
backs, they're still holding on to the ball, waiting for teams to come out. But teams aren't coming out anymore. They're sitting back in and they're saying, no, wait till you get to the edge of our box. We're going to block that up. We'll
Yeah.
take the ball off you, hit you devastatingly on the counter. Romero at the weekend was guilty of it. 4 or 5 touches trying to wait for the player to come out. And then he realized, he's not coming. I'll move it to Emerson. If that was done much more quicker, you get the ball to your wingers in space to become a lot more effective. It ain't rocket science. I don't think, like you said, I'm open. When Man City's come, they play the high line. They have no respect for us. No problem. Son in behind all day long. You know he's going to kill them off. But against the low block teams, this is the way it has to be for me until we can hit the summer transfer market and find more solutions to the problem. But look, it goes to show the caliber of player Son is that we're arguing, what's his best position? Is it off the left wing? Is it up front? For me, it's always been off the left wing off Tottenham. We just need Maddison to start getting his head up and finding Son a lot earlier the way Kane used to, in my opinion. And that problem will be solved very, very easily.
Very easily indeed. And if you think we're still delusional, just last piece of bit here, and then we'll end off. And thank you if you're still watching this video. Please smash that like button. Take yourself back to the 4-1 game against Chelsea, where we did lose, but I think we should have won that game. We did play Sonny down the middle. Again, I would confess we still should have won that game regardless. But we went into this game 2-1, where we lose to Wolves. Sonny was played down the middle. Brennan Johnson on the left. There was no Richarlison played in that game. We lose that game 2-1. Aston Villa, we lose 2-1 at home as well. Sonny down the middle. Brennan Johnson in the game. We go again 3-3. Great performance. Don't get me wrong. Something I'd say we're proud of. Sonny down the middle. But we still haven't won, you'd say. Technically 4 games here, Dave, if I'm correct. We go 2-1 defeat again to West Ham at home. That was Sonny down the middle as well here, everybody. Brennan Johnson on the left. We now win at home 4-1 against Newcastle. Guess who plays? Richarlison down the middle with a brace. Sonny on the left also scores. We win 2-0. Nottingham Forest. Richarlison down the middle. And I believe you kind of get the trend here. So on 2-1, Richarlison down the middle. We won. I believe he scored in that game. 4-2. Terrible performance. Don't get me wrong. 3-1. Richarlison down the middle. We win. 1-0. 2-2. Lose 3-2 against Brentford. 2-2 here. 2-1 against Brighton. I mean, again, we're not in the best form in the world, but I think you can just see of late the form was better when we moved Richarlison down the middle and moved Sonny to the left.
But this is also where people say, Ange needs to adjust. He did adjust. Once teams started showing us respect and they found a way to nullify Son through the middle, he changed the up, put Richarlison down the middle, and it got us purring again. Look, let's wait and see what the options are heading into the next game. Last thing I'll say is Spurs fans, please stop simping Bayern Munich on Twitter. It's all over my newsfeed and bugging me. That's the last thing I'm going to say.
Everybody,
even I don't do that, and Harry Kane plays for them.
Whether you agree with us, disagree with us, thanks for watching this video, everybody. Hopefully, you two smash that like button for us. Get your comments in down below what you think of this, and I will be seeing you for the next one. Come on, you Spurs. In the big Ange we trust. We never stop. See you, everybody. Everywhere we go.